Pranams to everyone. Namaskar.
Namaskar, namaskar.
Dilip and Ashish, it's a great pleasure having you this evening on the Instagram live of Insync TV. I'll make a few opening remarks and then I will engage into a casual chat with you. I'm extremely happy today this weekend because after a long gap of almost 2 years, we seem to be entering into a phase where the live music events have started happening. For example, in the city of Mumbai alone, if I can read the newspapers, there are about 5-6 events which are happening simultaneously, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And this is a very good sign because if music has to thrive, it is only through these live events that it can thrive. Yes. Insync as a television channel is engaged not just into promoting music, but it is also engaged in ensuring that good music is produced by the artists. And if good music has to be produced by the artist, can they do it alone? Certainly not. They need an ecosystem. They need a support system where each aspect of music is helped, nurtured, and allowed to grow in an organic fashion. For example, today morning I was attending a very large Carnatic concert somewhere in a large auditorium. And I found to my utter surprise that both the Mridangam and the Kanjira, the mics were on, but they were not giving the right level of output. Possibly because the Kanjira wanted the lows, whereas the microphone person had set it on the highs, and the Mridangam required mid and low, whereas it was the high was more, and then the other side, which is supposed to be kind of done on a lower this thing, was given a higher amplitude, and as a result, there was a complete mess in the beginning. Similarly, it is not just the artists who produce good music. It is the artist, it is the instrument, and then it is the sound management, and finally the audience. All these 4 pillars ensure that the music is of a good quality. Having said that, while in the past several weeks we have been engaging ourselves into a chat show with the performing artist, possibly today is the first time ever that the Insync TV is engaging into a maker of instruments. And Dilip ji, आपको मिलकर बहुत खुशी है. मैं तो आपको कई बार मिला हूं, मगर आज एक अलग पर्सपेक्टिव में मिल रहा हूं, क्योंकि हमें ये इच्छा है कि जो संगीत सुनते हैं, जो संगीत का मजा लेते हैं, उनको ये समझना चाहिए कि कितना जो उनका जो इंस्ट्रूमेंट है उसको बनाने में कितना मेहनत है और उसको बनाना कितना मुश्किल है, उसको एक अच्छी प्लेटफॉर्म लेवल पे ले आना एक बहुत बड़ी चीज है. वो तो बजा सकते हैं, लेकिन अगर कोई तकलीफ होगी या कोई इंस्ट्रूमेंट में खराबी हो गई तो उनके हाथों से कुछ नहीं हो सकता. अगर समझ लीजिए तानपुरा है और ऊपर का ये टूट गया तो कुछ नहीं कर सकता है. वो सब है आपके भरोसे पे. In other words, if a good musician has to give good music, it depends on the instrument maker. And I'm very happy that today I am engaging on a casual chat with a family which has given its entire life, not just one generation, but several generations. It started with, I used to, आशीष जी आपके इंफॉर्मेशन के लिए मैं कह दूं कि बड़े बड़े इंटरनेशनल सेमिनार्स में मुझे बुलाते हैं बात करने के लिए, और मैं कई बार ये क्वेश्चन पूछता हूं, अरे भाई आप लोग सब संगीत के बारे में इतना बात करते हैं, म्यूजिकोलॉजी के बारे में इतना बात करते हैं, आप बताइए कौन सा ऐसा इंस्ट्रूमेंट है जहां पर आर्टिस्ट बजा सकता है मगर उसको ट्यून नहीं कर सकता है. तो लोग सोचते बैठते हैं कि भाई ये कौन सा इंस्ट्रूमेंट है, तो मैं उत्तर देता हूं हारमोनियम. हारमोनियम बजाने वाला कितना भी बड़ा हो, अगर उसमें सुर खराब हो गया, ट्यूनिंग खराब होगी, तो उसके बाद वो हारमोनियम वाला कुछ भी करे, उल्टा खड़े हुए, बाजा बजेगा नहीं. कारण ये जो ट्यूनिंग एस्पेक्ट जो है एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट का इतना महत्व रखता है. और दूसरा, मुझे तो लगता है ऑल इंडिया रेडियो में कई साल हारमोनियम बैन किया था. बैन करने का वजह ये नहीं था कि बजाने वाले अच्छा नहीं है, बजाने वाले अच्छे थे मगर ट्यूनिंग करने वाले नहीं थे. तो इसके कारण क्या हो गया था, जब भी बड़े बड़े संगीत समारोह में हारमोनियम बजता है बेसुरा बजता था. अगर बेसुरा बजता है, इसका खराबी ना इंस्ट्रूमेंट में है ना बजाने वाले पे है, इसका खराबी है उसको जो ट्यून करने वाला है वो मिला नहीं रहा। अगर ट्यून करने वाला मिल जाता है तो हारमोनियम तो सही बजेगा। तो ये जो एक दुनिया को इसके बारे में ज्यादा जानकारी नहीं है, मगर इसीलिए मुझे ये अच्छा लगता है कि आज मैं आपसे ये बात कर रहा हूं कि भाई वो जो बनाने वाले, वो उनका रोल, उनका जो कंट्रीब्यूशन है इन द ओवरऑल म्यूजिक सिस्टम, वो कितना उसका इंपॉर्टेंस होता है। तो आई एम वेरी हैप्पी टू स्पीक टू दिलीप Diwane ji and Ashish Diwane, the two persons who are instrumental in city of Mumbai to have created a facility for not only selling of instruments, the maintaining of the instruments and the repair of the instruments. ये तीनों जो portions है, components है संगीत के दुनिया में। And in fact when दिलीप से उनसे मैं बात करता हूँ, मुझे लगता है ये ओल्ड है मगर ये भी यंग थे। उनके पिताजी ने जो स्टार्ट किया था, हरिभाऊ जी ने जो स्टार्ट किया था ये फैसिलिटी, तो उस फैसिलिटी को इन्होंने कंटिन्यू किया, आगे ले गया, और उसके बाद नेक्स्ट जनरेशन आशीष के स्वरूप में जुड़ा उसमें, उसको और विस्तार किया, फिर उसका एक्सपोर्ट करने लगे। तो ऐसे एक जो इम्पोर्टेंट कंपोनेंट है अच्छे संगीत के लिए, वो इम्पोर्टेंट कंपोनेंट संभालने वाले दिलीप जी और आशीष जी, आपको मेरा इनसिंक टीवी के तरफ से बड़ा नमस्कार।
थैंक यू।
तो अब मैं कुछ थोड़ा सा एक प्लेटफॉर्म बना दिया, तो इसमें आपसे जानना चाहूंगा दिलीप जी कि आपके बचपन में नॉर्मली बच्चों में एक आदत होता है, रिबेल बनते हैं, जो पिताजी करता है वो मुझे नहीं करना है। अगर पिताजी डॉक्टर है तो मुझे इंजीनियर बनना है, अगर पिताजी इंजीनियर है तो मुझे दूसरा कुछ बनना है। ये एक इच्छा हर एक बच्चे के मन में होता है कि मैं कुछ अलग करके दिखाऊं, मगर आपने एक अलग रास्ता चुना कि आपके जो पिताजी कर रहे थे उसको आप समझे ठीक तरह से, उसका जो नुआंसेस है, उसका जो इंट्रिकसीज है, उसको आप समझे और उसके ऊपर आप और बनाने लगे। तो आपके बचपन के बारे में कुछ बता दीजिए दिलीप जी।
एक्चुअली बचपन में मैं हमारे चाचा जो हरिभाऊ है उनके साथ में ज्यादा रहा, और वो जो है उनका क्रिएटिव माइंड था। और वो जो कारखाना जो हमारा था वो दादर से हम लोगों ने जब नगर शिफ्ट किया, जब मैं 8 साल का था, तभी मैं उनके साथ नगर चला गया, अहमदनगर, और वहां पर मेरी शिक्षा हुई। तो शिक्षा जब मेरी शुरू थी उस टाइम में, तो उस टाइम में जब भी मैं स्कूल से आता था तो सामने कारखाने में जाके फिर किधर खिला मार, किधर ये मार, तो क्या बचपन में वो तो आदत रहती है, तो कुछ ना कुछ चालू रहता था, लकड़ा पड़ा रहता था, कटिंग पड़ा रहता था, तो उसमें से कुछ बनाओ, कुछ गाड़ी बनाओ, कुछ ये बनाओ, ऐसा कुछ थोड़ा थोड़ा क्रिएटिव उस टाइम में हमारा बचपन में वो चालू था। फिर उस टाइम में थोड़ा वो देखने को मिला कैसा हारमोनियम बनाते हैं, क्या होता है सामने एकदम बिल्कुल, क्योंकि शाम को टाइम पूरा मेरा कारखाने में ही जाता था, और कारखाने में फिर लोग काम करते थे, कभी ओवर टाइम में रात को 8-8, 9-9, 10-10 बजे तक वहाँ काम चालू रहता था, तो देखने को मिल जाता था। तो फिर बाद में फिर आस्ते आस्ते वो थोड़ा ग्रास्पिंग हो गया कि ये इंस्ट्रूमेंट कैसा बजता है कैसा नहीं। ये फिर हम लोगों ने उधर जैसा कारखाना हमारा वहाँ सेटअप था उसका पूरा, तो एक्चुअली उस टाइम में मुझे खाली बजाना आता था कुछ भी, जैसे उधर बुलबुल तरंग बनता था और हारमोनियम बनता था, 2 आइटम बनते थे उस टाइम में। तो बुलबुल तरंग बजा लेते थे, कभी ट्यूनिंग कर रहा था आदमी तो उसे हाथ से खींच लिया, बुलबुल बजाया, फिर बाद में जब पैकिंग होता था जब भी बजा लिया। ऐसा थोड़ा थोड़ा शरारती वगैरह थोड़ा होता था बीच में। फिर बाद में हम लोगों ने उसको सीख लिया कैसा बजाने का, क्या बजाने का, आस्ते आस्ते कान तैयार हो गया, म्यूजिकल ईयर तैयार एक बार हो गया है तो कोई भी इंस्ट्रूमेंट फिर आदमी बजा सकता है नेचुरली। तो फिर आस्ते आस्ते हम लोगों ने फिर हारमोनियम के ऊपर थोड़ा कुछ बजाना शुरू कर दिया। तो बचपन में ही थोड़ा म्यूजिकल ईयर हमारा तैयार हो गया। फिर हरिभाऊ ने हमको एक वहां पर हमारे एक टीचर थे, म्यूजिक टीचर, तो उनको एक सेटअप चाहिए था, तो हरिभाऊ ने उनको एक थोड़ा सेटअप करके दिया। तो सेटअप में फिर वो बोले क्लास बोले, तो उनको क्लास उनका बना के दिया, उसमें पूरे उनको इंस्ट्रूमेंट दिए, फिर उनको हेल्प की बहुत सारी। तो बोले कि फिर मैं ये बच्चों को सिखाता हूँ, मैं पैसा तो नहीं दे सकता, तो बोले कम से कम ये बच्चों को सिखाता हूँ। तो मैं और मेरी सिस्टर बड़ी और फिर बाकी बच्चे जो हमारे बिल्डिंग में अगर रहते थे उनको उन्होंने सिखाना शुरू कर दिया। तो उसमें हम मेरा दो यानी म्यूजिक का ये तो उस टाइम में हो गया। तो थोड़ा बहुत तो सुर का ज्ञान हो गया, फिर वो आपका थोड़ा सा रागदारी भी उसमें सीख ली हम लोगों ने उस टाइम में। तो फिर वो दिमाग में बैठ गया पूरा म्यूजिक। फिर बाद में जैसे बड़े होते गए, कॉलेज में गए, तो फिर वो चालू ही होता है हमारा पूरा सीखने का, यानी इंस्ट्रूमेंट बनाने के साथ में सीखने का भी चालू था। तो फिर बाद में जब मैं बम्बई शिफ्ट हो गया तो उसके बाद में फिर हम लोगों ने उसमें एडिशन करते गए थोड़ा 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 थोड़ा। फिर इंस्ट्रूमेंट हमने बढ़ा लिए, फिर उसमें इलेक्ट्रिक बुलबुल तरंग बनाया, फिर हवाइन गिटार बनाया, स्पेनिश गिटार बनाए। फिर जैसे जैसे रिक्वायरमेंट बढ़ती गई इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स की, वैसे थोड़े थोड़े इंस्ट्रूमेंट हम लोगों ने बढ़ाते गए। फिर सौरमंडल बनाया, फिर संतूर बनाया। फिर अभी संतूर और हारमोनियम में हमारा वन ऑफ द बेस्ट प्रोडक्ट में हमारे अभी फिलहाल रनिंग आइटम में है। बाकी सुरमंडल है तीसरा। तो ऐसे कुछ आइटम्स हम लोग बना रहे हैं अभी और एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, और पूरा मार्केट सप्लाई है हमारा।
आगे बढ़ने के पहले मैं और कुछ कहना चाहूंगा।
हाँ जी।
जो हारमोनियम जो है,
हाँ जी।
it's a very very unique instrument because any student wanting to learn music, the
करेक्ट।
first step is harmonium. If somebody is able to train himself very well during the foundation level, it is the harmonium that enables that to happen. And just hold the pitch, सा प सा पकड़ लिया तो उसके ऊपर रागदारी करो, उसके ऊपर सीखो, उसके ऊपर जो भी थाट है उसको करते जाओ। और अगर साथ में कोई बजाने वाला मिल गया तो और भी अच्छा है, तो अगर समझो बजाने वाला नहीं मिला तो जस्ट सा प सा पकड़िए और सुर में आप उसको बिल्डअप करते जाइए। तो ये जो हारमोनियम का जो शुरुआत लेवल पे, थ्रेशोल्ड लेवल पे जो इन्फ्लुएंस है हर सीखने वाले के, वोकल होए, इंस्ट्रूमेंटल होवे, जो भी होवे, ये हारमोनियम का एक बहुत अहम एक पहचान है हिंदू शास्त्रीय संगीत में, चाहे वो हिंदुस्तानी हो या कर्नाटिक हो। वैसे हम कर्नाटिक म्यूजिक में हारमोनियम ज्यादा यूज नहीं करते हैं क्योंकि वहां हमारा 22 श्रुतिस का कॉन्सेप्ट है। क्योंकि इसके वजह से जो हारमोनियम में जो लिमिटेड है, दो री, दो ग या दो म और दो धैवत और दो निषाद, कर्नाटिक म्यूजिक में थोड़ा सा अलग है। मगर कर्नाटिक म्यूजिक के वहां पर जो भजन संप्रदाय है, दक्षिण भजन संप्रदाय, उसमें हारमोनियम is the most preferred instrument. So harmonium is an instrument which is all pervasive throughout the country. Whether you go to north or you go to south, east or west, harmonium is a very very fundamental instrument. मुझे बचपन में एक चीज समझ में नहीं आता था, और वो चीज ये था कि समझ लीजिए गाने वाला पांडरी एक में गाए तो पांडरी एक में बजा दिया, अगर गाने वाला काली एक में स्टार्ट करे तो आपका प्रॉब्लम स्टार्ट हो गया, तो फिंगरिंग पूरा बदल जाता। तो हमेशा मैं ये सोचता हूँ यार किसने ये व्हाइट एंड ब्लैक का इन्वेंट किया और हारमोनियम बजाने वाले का दिमाग खराब कर दिया। तो मैं हमेशा सोचने का भाई ये इसका कारण क्या है? Why can't it be just one after the other? Why should the buttons be half? It didn't really make sense when I was a child. So when you shifted from Z to Re, it's a half note, then again G, छोटा G, दूसरा short note। तो ऐसे जो उसका सिस्टम जो है, मुझे बचपन में बिल्कुल समझ नहीं रहा था कि भाई ऐसे क्यों? Why should we have a system where the half notes are taken to the top, which creates a huge problem? Suppose the singer shifts to say Pandridom, you have a problem because you can't play it. Your entire finger system goes for a toss. So I used to wonder why did this happen? That's possibly when I started researching, and I realized that a human hand, if it has to hold from the shadja to upper shadja within one hold, that is possible only for a certain distance. So this entire octave has to fall within certain physical scale. Correct. If it goes beyond that, then the hand cannot hold it. So maybe this is why they had to somehow place all the 12 notes within that limited space, yet giving each space, each note, its required space, so that when you do the fingering, the width of the button has to be at least so much, so that when you touch it, it is pressed and the sound is produced. So this unknown fact about a harmonium, which is a big challenge, why in the entire world, whether it's a harmonium or whether it's a piano or whatever, why have they structured it in that kind of a manner? And the answer is the human hand can hold from one shadja to the other shadja with the madhyam or the pancham as required by the raga. Then you have to have that physical limitation. So within that limitation, the 12 notes had to be produced. So that is the first mystery about the harmonium, which was resolved. The second history was, I put I press one portion here, which creates an air column. Then I'm pressing the button and the sound is produced. Now, how does this happen? The entire mechanism. While in Insync TV, we have made a detailed documentary on this. But for the sake of the uninitiated, I would like to just mention in 2 minutes how the whole magic happens. And it sounds so complicated, but how simple it was. The procedure of creating music was so simple. On one side, you create air which gets pushed through the bell house and then gets collected in a chamber. And this chamber is created in such a manner that the air, once taken in, cannot escape, and you have a leather flap which ensures that once you do it, the air cannot escape from there. So the chamber is filled with air. And then when a button gets pressed, the air escapes through the reed, depending on how that reed has been tuned. And it escapes through the reed and the note is produced. Now, basically, it's an extremely simple mechanism. If harmonium, which is one of the oldest instruments, and it can produce such a beautiful music, the concept, the physics behind the structure of making a harmonium is so simple that you push air, which is from nature. You create a chamber, which is again from a wooden box, which is nature. And from that, you have a tongue, which is the reed. And then you have tuned the reed into sh, sa, re, ga, ma, whatever. And when that air escapes through that tongue, the notes are produced and you get beautiful music. So this very simple physics of creating an instrument, and it is represented in a harmonium. Now that is the beginning stage. Now for a person like you, then you start complicating it by putting a coupler. My God, in my childhood, I used to wonder what the hell is this coupler? And then I realized that like in a marriage, you need a husband and you need a wife who are compatible with each other. Similarly, in a harmonium, when you press a note, you are giving a corresponding note somewhere else to get pressed mechanically. And because it is pressed mechanically, that button also produces a sound. And then you have an output of two styes. That is the Madhya style and either the Tara style, or if you wanted that, or the lower style, so that two style notes are automatically produced. So this resolved the next issue in terms of creating some kind of a harmonic where one note is accompanied by another note.
Yes.
Then the next complication that you all did as a manufacturer was to create triple reed and double reed. In my childhood, I used to wonder what is a single reed, what is double reed, and what is triple reed. I never would understand, because when you press a button, it is one button. So where is the question of double reed and triple reed? But then when you heard it, it was sounding very rich. So you will not believe, but I have broken so many harmoniums just to understand these concepts. So I would open the box and I would say, when you say double reed, what does this double reed mean? So that is when I realized for the entire 3.5 octaves that you have, you create two rows. So it goes double reed. So when you press one button, one tongue of one octave is pressed. Simultaneously, the other thing, which is slightly either on the lower level or the upper level, and a corresponding button. And then that became the second complication. So from a single reed, you went to a double reed. From a double reed, you went to a triple reed. And then you added further complication by putting a coupler, which made 6 reeds play at a simultaneous time. So with a single press of a button, 6 notes got produced. So I thought that is the ultimate in a harmonium. Then somebody thought, I think it was somewhere around 1980 that this happened, that somebody decided to shift. So from a normal single reed harmonium, you went to a double reed. From double reed, you went to triple reed. And then you put a coupler. So 6 reeds made a noise. Now to resolve the issue of the same fingering technique. So even if the singer sings in, say, Kalidon, you still shift the button to a Kalidon space and your fingering remains exactly the same as it is in Pandri 1. But the sound produced is of Kalidon or Teen or Char or Sade Char or Pach or whatever. So this entire system of shifting the bass is an excellent, I'm telling you, it is a revolutionary step in the structure of a harmonium. And this changed the entire concept. Because till then, the harmonium player was always kind of, restrained by the changing pitch. So the vocalist had to either sing in Pandri 1 or Pandri 4. If it's a male, it is Pandri Ek. If it's a female, it is Pandricha. So the harmonium player otherwise cannot accompany. But by introducing this concept of shifting the pitch, you brought about a revolution in the market. Now, tell me, Dilipji, from your knowledge, all these increments in the value of harmonium in terms of single reed, double reed, triple reed, you must have got into this business of making harmonium for a very long time. Whom, according to you, you should give the credit for inventing all this? Is it Calcutta, or is it Rajasthan, or is it Mumbai, or was it Haribhau ji? Who did all this and fine-tuned and gave us a good product? हिंदी में बताइए ना.
पर्टिकुलरली ये जो हारमोनियम का पहला सिंगल रीड था, फिर डबल रीड हुआ, फिर ट्रिपल रीड हुआ, ये तो सिंपल सिस्टम में तो जैसा जैसा रिक्वायरमेंट था आदमी का, वैसे यानी आर्टिस्ट लोगों का, वैसे उस हिसाब से बनते गया. लेकिन जो कपलर का और फिर ये इसका जो है, जैसे अभी हमारे में जैसे वो 2 हाथ से बाजा बजाया जाता है, तो अभी क्या है ऑर्गन जैसा, तो उसका जो टोन है वो टोन किसी को पसंद आ गया होगा, तो उसने बोला कि मुझे ये एक साथ में 2 आवाज चाहिए, नीचे का ऊपर का दोनों भी साथ में ऐसा जो बजाते हैं. जैसे भजन में हमारे इधर पाँव पेटी बजाते हैं, लेग हारमोनियम, तो वो हारमोनियम में फिर वो दोनों हाथ से बजता है, तो नेचुरली उसका जो इफेक्ट है वो ज्यादा मिलता है और अच्छा मिलता है. तो वो लोगों को पसंद आ गया, तो बोलते कि उसमें कपलर डालो. हमको बड़ा लेग हारमोनियम ले जाने के लिए बहुत प्रॉब्लम है, तो हैंड हारमोनियम में आप कपलर सिस्टम कुछ कर सके कि एक हाथ से दोनों चीज बजे, तो उस हिसाब से फिर कपलर का इंट्रोडक्शन उस टाइम में हुआ होगा. अभी मैं तो छोटा था बहुत, जब भी ये स्केल चेंज भी आ गया, ये भी आ गया. और इसका मोस्टली स्केल चेंज मेरे अंदाज से कलकत्ता में ज्यादा पहले स्टार्ट हुआ, यानी कलकत्ता में वो बनाना उन्होंने पहले शुरू किया स्केल चेंज.
नहीं, आपको एक बताऊं कि फ्रेंच हारमोनियम आते थे ना, उनमें कपलर पहली बार इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ था. वायर्ड कपलर होता था, एक मैकेनिकल, जैसे अभी भी पंजाब के बाजू में हारमोनियम में वो लोग लगाते, एक वायर्ड कपलर होता है.
तार का बनता है,
वायर ऐसे बेंड करके वो कीबोर्ड के नीचे उसका एक फिक्सचर होता है, तो वो एक दबाएंगे तो वो दूसरा उसको ऑटोमेटिकली ये कर. बट it is not very accurate, because it depends on a lot of things like the temper of the wire. Sometimes the wire is soft, so वो वायर यूज होते होते बैठ जाता है, तो इवननेस उसमें नहीं था पहले से. वो बहुत पहले आ रहा था फ्रेंच हारमोनियम में. इवेंचुअली इंडिया में कैलकाटा में इन्होंने वुडन, अभी जो हम लोग कपलर जो स्टिक्स, क्रॉस स्टिक्स लगा के एक वुड का कपलर बनता है, इट इज मोर रिलायबल एंड मोर एक्यूरेट ऑल्सो. एंड इट इज द बेस्ट पार्ट अबाउट दैट इज यू कैन एडजस्ट इट. कम ज्यादा उसको एक स्क्रू लेवलर होता है, so which we can adjust the level of the, so जो कपलर, जो कपलिंग रीड है, that opening also we can control. See, their adjustment is there in this one. The wired one did have all these things. It was very basic design, but अभी जो बन रहा है, and I जितना मैंने इसको स्टडी किया है, ओरिजिनली हारमोन तो यूरोप से आया, पर हमने उसको अडेप्ट किया हमारी. So what all harmoniums we see now in India, they are not none of them are like the original models that came from Europe. They are all indigenous. हमने हमारे हिसाब से उसके रीड्स में बदलाव किया, उसके जो ओवरऑल प्लेइंग स्केल्स में बदलाव किया, उसका टोनल क्वालिटी में बदलाव किया, वो सब यहाँ बहुत डेवलप हुआ. Coupler changers also. I think Calcutta was the first place where they developed a scale changer and a coupler harmonium. मतलब वो जो अभी जो मॉडल हम लोग देखते हैं, the one that we see now.
Correct.
Yeah.
I in my childhood I realized that there was a big fight for reeds from Paris.
Yes.
And in my family many people played harmonium, and the question was no, we must always get the Paris reed. So when we used to travel abroad, we were told नहीं आप पेरिस से आने का टाइम उसका रीड का पूरा सेट लेके आइएगा. And we would then travel around Paris, try and identify a lot of this reeds and buy the set. Then somebody said, no, there is one Rajasthan where the reeds are available. Somebody said Calcutta, the reeds are available. But today's harmonium player is completely absent about this kind of evolutionary process, where there was a lot of difficulty. Like you very rightly said, having got a Western instrument into the Indian fold, for the requirements as given to you by, say, Natya Sangeet, where, you know, you had a pipette and they wanted a little louder noise, you know, the organ type thing, where you wanted it to be a little more, you know, gambhir,
Older.
you know, a little more aggressive.
Yeah.
Whereas some people wanted a very soft, like a ghazal type harmonium. So all these requirements were constantly being exchanged with you as a manufacturer or a maker.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
these kind of ideas always flowed from the need. And then you started answering these things step by step by your inventory abilities or a creative ability. And yes, somebody from Calcutta must have found out this, but somebody ultimately took it to a manufacturable level. One is to have an idea. Second is to ensure that on an assembly level, to convert that into a workable idea, which will stay for many years. It will not get spoiled. Like you said, if you had used a string, maybe because it is constantly getting pressed, the tone will become out of tune. Like, for example, in Bulbul Tarang, I remember in my childhood, the button got pressed so many times that the button itself got slightly bent, and then it will not give you the right effect. These kind of technical challenges are always there for a maker. So when you go through this process, you slowly start understanding. Now, in a harmonium, I can imagine that in today's world, it is so easy to tune the harmonium because you have an external support. For example, there is a small system where you attach and it tells you what is the frequency. But those days, you never had this gadget. तो तभी अपने सिर्फ अभी दिलीप जी ने बताया कान तैयार हो गया. ये कान तैयार होने का मतलब क्या है? कान तैयार होने का मतलब ये है कि हर एक सुर का पहचान कि वो क्या फ्रीक्वेंसी में होना चाहिए. और अगर फ्रीक्वेंसी उधर इधर थोड़ा सा हिल गया तो इमेजिन कीजिए आप जब 6 नोट साथ में बजने वाली है, इट विल नॉट बी एन हार्मोनियम, इट विल बी कंप्लीटली डिसहार्मनी. सो वो जो पहचान जो है, कान तैयार होना, संगीत में कान तैयार होना बहुत बहुत जरूरी है. तो वो लेवल ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ दैट सुर का जो पहचान, जो हम सुर लगाते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल अभी हम मृदंगम जब उसको ट्यून करते हैं तो एक वो पहचान है, वो समझने के लिए 3-4 साल लग जाएगा एक स्टूडेंट को कि भाई ये षड्ज में बराबर उसको कैसे लगाना, सब उसके जो सही है सब बराबर उसको बैठना, तबला हो या मृदंगम हो जो भी हो उसको सुर लगाना, वो एक बड़ा पहचान. आज के तारीख में क्या है, एक छोटा सा पाइप लेके आया, फू बजाया तो सी शार्प मिल गया, वो सी शार्प से जोड़ लिया, और अगर नहीं जोड़ा तो वो डायल दिखाता है भाई आप गलत है. तो ये एक्सटर्नल मीन्स जो अभी तो उपलब्ध है, सब कुछ डेवलप हो गया, मगर वो जमाने में ये सब नहीं था. तो इमेजिन कीजिए, आई यूज्ड टू इनफैक्ट माय वेरी फर्स्ट हारमोनियम वाज मेड बाय हरिभाऊ जी, and my father-in-law gifted it to me in the year 1983. And it was the first, I'm told it was the first coupler and a scale changer, and with 3 reeds. And imagine in 83, I used to just sit with the harmonium, not to play, but just to understand कि भाई ये कैसे इसका जो डेवलपमेंट हुआ, जो इवॉल्व हुआ, ये कितना मेहनत उसके पीछे गया है. तो I used to always wonder, तो इसको करना, और जब थोड़ा सा आउट ऑफ ट्यून हो गया, oh my God, I used to live in Delhi, and my life became miserable because I could not tune the harmonium. Though I could play harmonium very well, but as a player, however money I had, but I could not find somebody who could tune the harmonium. And there the fight started. Ultimately, I narrowed down to Tulsidas Borkarji, who once played for me, accompanied me, and then he said, गणेश कुमार जी आप फिक्र मत कीजिए, हारमोनियम मेरे पास लाइए, मैं ट्यून करके देता हूँ. और मैं उनको हारमोनियम दे दिया. मैं क्या सोचा, चलो आज दे दिया, 2-3 दिन में जाकर ले आऊंगा. तो 2-3 दिन के बाद में गया तो मैं पूछा, बोरकर साहब ट्यून हो गया? बोले नहीं, अभी तो खाली 4 बटन ट्यून हुआ है. चलो क्या करते हैं साहब, 3.5 ऑक्टेव का हारमोनियम है, आप 4 बटन ट्यून किया है, ये बाकी का कभी होगा? बोले नहीं गणेश कुमार जी, इतना आसान नहीं है, मुझे इतना नॉलेज नहीं था. तो मैं सोचा कि ऐसे ही उनके पास शायद टाइम नहीं है, बिजी है, इसलिए नहीं कर रहे हैं. तो एक बार मैंने सोचा नहीं इनके साथ में बैठना चाहिए ट्यूनिंग करते वक्त, ताकि समझे भाई इसमें कितना मेहनत है. तो मैं एक दिन चला गया, आप बिलीव नहीं करोगे, पूरा दिन हमने बैठा, करीब 8-9 घंटे का, सिर्फ एक बटन ट्यून हुआ, सिर्फ एक बटन, और उसके साथ फिर नीचे वाला, उसके साथ वो दूसरा वाला. तो ये करते मुझे then it dawned on me that maintaining a harmonium is an extremely big challenge. These days you have a lot of gadgets which help you to do this, but I can imagine during the childhood of Dilip ji, how much you would have struggled to get that art कान तैयार होना, उसके लिए कितना मेहनत करना पड़ा. दिलीप जी, उसके बारे में कुछ, ट्यूनिंग के बारे में आप जरा बताइएगा प्लीज.
ट्यूनिंग का एक्चुअली क्या है कि आपका कान जब तैयार होता है, मतलब आपको जब एक पर्टिकुलरली कोई भी ट्यून आप जब सुनते हैं और उसको आप हारमोनियम में निकालते हैं, हारमोनियम पे बजाते हैं, तो नेचुरली क्या होता है कि वो परफेक्टली बजाने में आपको कोई भी, अभी जैसे अकम्पनीमेंट भी आप करते हैं तो आप सामने वाला गा रहा होता है, उसके साथ में आप अकम्पनीमेंट करते हैं, तो आपके कान में उसका आवाज आने के बाद में तुरंत आपके हाथ में उसका ये संदेशा जाता है और वैसे ही बराबर आप उसमें से नोट्स निकालते हैं,
कनेक्ट होता है.
तो ये कनेक्शन जो है, ये कनेक्शन एक बार अपना ब्रेन का और इसका हो गया हाथ का, उसके साथ में कैसा कौन सा नोट निकालना है, तो फिर ऑटोमेटिकली ट्यूनिंग, फिर कान एक बार तैयार होने के बाद ट्यूनिंग करना फिर कोई बड़ी बात नहीं होती है. ऐसा है. अभी क्या है कि जैसे सुर का फ्रीक्वेंसी एक बार लगा लिया कोई भी, और फिर उसके साथ में आप 12 नोट जो है वो मिला लिए, 12 नोट्स, क्योंकि टेम्पर्ड स्केल में आपको 12 नोट्स मिलाना होता है, तो 12 नोट्स एक बार मिला लिए टेम्पर्ड स्केल में, फिर आपको मध्यम पंचम चेक करके दोनों बाजू के हारमोनियम ट्यूनिंग करनी पड़ेगी. फिर बाद में एक लाइन होने के बाद 2 लाइन, फिर 3 लाइन, जितना हारमोनियम का ये होगा उतना. तो नॉर्मली एक हारमोनियम अगर प्रॉपर ट्यूनिंग करना है तो कम से कम आधा दिन लेता है.
तो ये मैं हमेशा देखा हूं किसी भी हारमोनियम शॉप में, कई है वैसे, तो इट इज ऑलवेज द बॉस हु इज एन एक्सपर्ट इन ट्यूनिंग. जो मालिक है वो ट्यूनिंग का बड़ा बड़ा ख्याल रखते हैं, और कारीगर जो है उनके नीचे से जो काम करते हैं वो नॉर्मली कारपेंट्री का काम करते हैं, उसको जोड़ना, वुड करना, उसमें लेदर लगाना, उसमें ये भरना, वो ग्लू भरना, बटन लगाना, वो मैकेनिकल चीज जो है वो सारा कुछ कारीगर कर लेते हैं. लेकिन जो ट्यूनिंग का काम है वो थोड़ा सा हायर लेवल का होता है, एंड इट कैन नॉट बी परचेस्ड. यू कैन नॉट गो टू यूनिवर्सिटी, पे 1 लाख रुपए एंड से ओके ये ट्यूनिंग का नॉलेज मैं सीख लेता हूँ, वो नहीं.
हारमोनियम में
इसीलिए आई वांट टू टेल, या सो दिस इज व्हाई
हारमोनियम
this is why I want to tell the people, sorry, this is why I want to tell the listeners that भाई इंस्ट्रूमेंट बनाना कोई मजाक नहीं है. It is not something that you can go to a university, do an MBA degree and come back and say आशीष जी ने डिसाइड किया चलो मैं MBA कर लेता हूँ और आ गया और आपके पास चलो. ऐसा नहीं है. उसके लिए एक बहुत दिमाग लगता है, उसके लिए एक अलग तरीके का इंटेलिजेंस लगता है. तो ये जो इंस्ट्रूमेंट मेकिंग है, it is a university by itself. It is not something that you can gain the knowledge somewhere outside and then come and practice it here. Exactly. So it is something which has to come. अगर भगवान का आपके ऊपर आशीर्वाद है तो ही वो साध्य है. Otherwise, this is something which you cannot earn. So this blessings of God on your generation, the same blessings was possible for the next generation. So Ashish ji, now I would like to bring you into the discussion that this aspect of God's blessings was available abundantly during the generation of Haribhau ji. Then it became further abundantly available during the times of Dilip ji and his brothers. And then for your generation, how did it happen? How did the magic transfer itself from that generation to your generation? Because then you saw it in a very different perspective. The making of the instrument was all given. You were making instruments. The shop was selling a lot of instruments. There were customers. There was a branding. There was a trust. So all this was a given. Then you took it to the next level in terms of exporting these instruments. Because today, musicology is at its highest form in India. So when it comes to musicology, India is endowed with all possible aspects of musicology. And the outer world, the external world, needs your services because they need your instruments, whether it is sitar, whether it is swarmandal, or whether it is a guitar, whether it is a bongo, whether it is a tabla. They need a credible source to purchase because the purchaser has no knowledge about the good quality of the instrument. The purchaser is just wanting a good shop from where he can purchase. So that stamp of credibility is something that one always searches for. You can buy easily a tabla anywhere, but when you buy it from a credible source like Haribhau, Vishwanath, you know you will not be cheated. Or when you say it is Kali Don, it will stay as Kali Don. Not that you will buy at the time of buying it will be Kalidon, and slowly over a period of time it loses its tenacity, and then it becomes some other soap. So that stamp of credibility, which to you was available already, the branding was already available. So how did you imagine to take it to the next level, Ashish?
I will give the credits to my buyers. Basically, when I started work in 1994, I was working I was taking care of the workshop, and it so happened that there were these one company from Germany who were interested in buying a harmonium. Okay, they came to India searching for some good makers. They were buying from Calcutta, from Punjab, everywhere. But it's because, as you said, our goodwill was there, and they had seen our instruments. And we had a very limited capacity. So somehow, when they came and while working with them, they were so curious about certain things. That why is this? Why is that? Why do you use particularly this material? Why do you use only particularly these beads? So we had to explain it to them. So initially it was like, as you said, it was going on. So I never cared why are we using this or why are we using that. But when people started questioning, that actually evoked the interest of looking for all these things in me. And then I started working with different materials, trying out something new. That's when I got a lot of involvement with all this development and all. And that's actually that interest keeps me going now. Even now, with what all experience people have about us, still we get newer inquiries. They have something in their mind and they'll come to us. They'll push it to us. Can you do this? Can you do this for us? That's how we started. Same thing happened with Dr. Oak, when he designed the 22 Shruti. We just went to see his, we were invited as guests on one of his workshops. And then we went there and he asked us, will you make this for me? I said, what happened? You are already making it. He said, no, I have made only prototypes. These are not the main product. This is still to be developed. So I want someone reliable who would develop it. And that's when we started working with him. And even that harmonium, when what the prototype and the one that we make now, it has an immense change. In that also we have introduced. So every lot we would change some or the other thing to make that experience more worthy. That tonality or maybe just the sustain, whatever. We thought of it from our end also, and because we are both musicians. I'm a tabla player. I've done a Visharad in tabla, so I've played tabla for 20 years myself, and so we are all musically inclined, and we are just we want to introduce our inputs also in our products every time. Then we developed something smaller for somebody. One person came to me and he said, I want just a 2-octave harmonium. I want to carry it with me anywhere I go. On the top of a mountain, I would go there, sit, play a kirtan or play just for myself. It has to be very soft. Only that I should be able to listen. I don't want it for anybody else to listen. That was a challenge for us. So to make a soft sounding harmonium. Basically, as you know, people mostly want louder harmoniums, okay? But softer harmonium. How do you? We can keep the volume here, but to reduce it, we never knew it. We have never thought of somebody would come and ask us that we want a very soft sounding harmonium. That also, these things, they keep me going with something new every time. Introduce something new. Now we work with CNCs also. Just to simplify the work. See, in our field, what we see is there is a very scarcity of labor. We don't. As you said, there is no university who teaches you to make instruments. Okay, so we have to create our own workers. So what we take is people who have a very basic carpentry background, and then we teach them all these small intricate things. And our the essence of the instrument making is that accuracy, that pinpoint accuracy is what we look at every time. So now still, as we see, humans are making it. So there will be some of the small mistakes or errors in them. So every time the person who gets the harmonium last, like us, I mean, uncle or me, so we would have to then rectify that error finally before it goes out of the store. So then this was very I mean, it was at times one or two harmoniums it's okay, but when we are making 12 harmoniums, if that error is getting it carried out in all the 12, then that is a challenging part. So then the latest thing that we started doing was to eradicate all these small errors from the very basics. Now we use CNCs also in our production. I've introduced recently. We have used a CNC machine, and in which we do all our read boards, our keyboards. They are so accurate. I mean, we can just switch keys from this harmonium to that harmonium without even thinking. It's that easy. So
Well,
that's what
I must appreciate the journey, where one generation brought it to a level of accurate and finely tuned, finely crafted instrument, and the next generation looks at taking it further in terms of marketing those finely made instruments and improve the overall revenue stream of the shop or the industry or what have you. Now, till 5-10 years back, instrument making was the challenge. But in the last 10 years, I see there is a shift now to ensure that the instruments which are nicely made are packaged well. For example, you had a harmonium. Nobody came to you for a solution for packaging the harmonium. But with the changing scenario, if a person is going to buy a harmonium in Bombay and is going to take it all over the world, then the challenge of transporting the instrument. I remember once in the Finance Society auditorium, which I was the chairman till recently, there was a concert of Ustad Amjad Ali ji. So he was traveling by flight and we landed here at about 5 o'clock. 6 o'clock was the concert. And to our utter horror, we realized that the instrument has broken because it was not handled properly. So we had 1,300 people sitting in the auditorium and we realized that he can't play because the instrument is not available. So it was a big challenge. So next day we had to announce to the audience that he will play the next day. We had to transport one more from Delhi. Then it came and then it was done. So packaging has become a big challenge, whether it is sitar, whether it is harmonium. The smaller instruments are a little easy. If you talk of bansuri or flute, you have good boxes. But larger the instrument, a tanpura, the sitar, a sarod, it has become a big challenge to ensure that the packaging is developed. So what is your role, Ashish ji, on the developing the right package for this instrument so that, their quality is maintained?
Yes. So nowadays, this started close to about 10-12 years back that people started manufacturing these molded fiberglass boxes here in India. But initially they were very crude. I mean, they were very heavy in themselves. The boxes themselves were very heavy. So the challenge that we faced was like when people want to travel it abroad, like so the allowances are like 25 kilos to 45 I think pounds of a in bag is allowed as per person. So the challenge that we faced was with how to we lighten that thing, plus without compromising on the safety of the instrument. So that was our challenge that we faced. In case making, we never ventured into case making as such, but we did our part as suggestions to the makers or to where they can actually make their cases stronger, like where does the instrument get hit more or the chances of getting damaged are there. So accordingly, we would suggest these makers that those particular regions should be fostered better than the other areas, so that the weight is also maintained within the limits, plus the safety is also guaranteed.
Well, having mentioned about the travel challenges,
yeah.
I will mention to you the problem that I faced when I went to Malaysia. We performed in Malaysia. And then on the way back, we were told that because it's a heavy package, it cannot be the check-in directly. So you have to deposit it in another counter from where they will send it across. So we were traveling from Kuala Lumpur to Chennai, and I arrive at Chennai, I find that the package has not come. So I started inquiring, why has the package not come? And then I was told that the customs have stopped it. So then I had to give some undertaking and all that, and convince the Kuala Lumpur customs that it should be cleared. And then they cleared, and then it was caught in the Chennai customs. Because they wanted to know, when the box was put under scanning with the fiberglass body, you know, the special packaging that you have developed, they found it to be very suspicious. Because they said when we scan it, you know, the inside a fiberglass body, there is some kind of a box, and in that lot of metal things are there, you know, placed one after each other, whether it is an explosive or whether it can be some kind of a timer and what have you. So the customs, I went to clear the instrument. They said, sorry, your package cannot be cleared. So I said, what is the problem? They said, no, it's a very suspicious looking box. So I said, I will establish to you that there is no suspicion. It is just a musical instrument. So they said, but why are there so many metal parts, you know, one after the other? Then I had to explain to him what is the concept of reed. Even then they wouldn't accept. Then I said, do I have a senior officer who's available here to whom I can demonstrate? So they called some senior person, and I took out the harmonium and I played for him. So when he realized that uske andar se Bollywood ka gana nikla, instrument hi ho sakta hai aur kya ho sakta hai. So I asked him, which is the song that you like? So he said some song, and I played that song. And that is when he cleared the instrument. So all that I'm trying to say is, today with the international travel, with the controls on international travel, for example, in some countries, they don't want to allow wood. So when a very senior Mridanga Vidwan went to Australia, he reached there to play for the concert, but his instrument would not come because they said your wood is not fumigated. Yeah. Now imagine he has landed there 24 hours before the concert, but if the instrument does not come, what is he going to do? However big a stalwart he could be, but without the instrument, he becomes zero. So then all these declarations, everything had to be given. People had to run helter and skelter. So for Indian instruments, it has become a big challenge. People don't understand. For example, in tambura, there is a big pot, and there is nothing inside the pot. It is supposed to be empty. That is how the vacuum or the air chamber is created. But people don't understand. They say, if it is such a big pot, why is it empty? Why is nothing is kept there? So all kinds of funny questions face you as an instrument player. And I think there is a need for the instrument making fraternity, the institutions, and the artists to combine forces and sensitize the outer world. Yeah. What do these instruments mean? Yes. How do they breathe life? So they are not just a bunch of wooden portions or a metallic portion and something like that. They are as complicated as human beings. They're as complicated, and they produce lively music. So people in the outside world need to be sensitized that these musical instruments are a category by itself. And if there has to be some kind of an international understanding in terms of labeling them in a manner that they will not have to undergo this kind of, a very detailed screening process. And they should be certified. Like you have a fragile sticker. So you put the fragile sticker and you think it's all done. But no, even a fragile sticker, even while keeping, if they keep it harshly, the pot can break. So just by putting a label of fragile is not adequate. So I have been addressing international seminars that there must be some kind of an internationally accepted, for example, you have for chemicals, there is something which categorizes the various chemicals. Yeah. So like that for musical instruments, there should be some kind of an international body which will certify and give you a certain code number. And with this code number, for example, in chemical, there is something called MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheet. So for every chemical molecule, it is clearly defined as to how should it be protected, how should it be handled in case of an emergency, what is the control point, and all these things are very clearly defined. So my suggestion to you as a large instrument maker is somehow we should join hands and ensure that there is some kind of an international coding system for various instruments, whether it's a wind instrument, whether it is a string instrument, whether it is a clay instrument, and all these categories of instruments, if they can be tabulated, and if they can be structured, and if somebody can define which is acceptable to all the international facilitators, customs and players and what have you, it will be a great service to this musical world. In fact, I'm making an application to the Ministry of Culture that India should take the lead and ensure that this kind of a coding system must be made available for Indian classical music instruments, so that there is an understanding of these instruments. And I think at the right time, we will also ask you to come and make your representation in terms of instrument makers as to what are your challenges. Just because it is wood, it is not that it cannot break. If you put it with this thing, it has to break. So the handling system has to be very robust in the airports, so that these are handled carefully. So all these things have to be discussed. But before I conclude the session with you, I want to know, what is your dream? What is your dream concept? That you have produced excellent music instruments. You are given a stamp of credibility. With your stamp, I hear that Paloma is your brand. And this Paloma brand is now worldwide accepted as a credible source of good instruments. You have started exporting. You have started the developing package. If as a normal business person, if I have to think, I could only think of integrating electronics into the mechanics. So if I want to tomorrow, I'm playing a harmonium, and if I want to adjust my volume, maybe I can have a dial with which the volume can be controlled. For example, I will tell you my challenge. I am a singer and I will play harmonium. So the harmonium is very close to the microphone, which is capturing my voice. Now, when I take the harmonium on my lap and play, and I sing, invariably the sound guy says that your harmonium sound is leaking on the vocal mic, so I'm unable to give the effects. So if I give a very low, then the harmonium sound dominates the vocal. Now, if I cut it off, then the harmonium sound is gone, and then, the Shruti concept is gone for a toss. So there are some very genuine requirements of various performers like me, where I'm allowed, even if I want to go for a recording, invariably the person would say, नहीं आपका हारमोनियम पूरा बंद कर दीजिए क्योंकि आवाज बहुत आ रहा है उसका. तो अगर मैं कपड़ा वपड़ा डाल के उसको ऊपर बंद कर देता तो मुझे कैसा सुनाई देगा? Because there is no external jack where I can put it and hear it in my ear and continue to play. Because for me, that is the inspiration. The sound of the harmonium is the inspiration to sing. So I find it extremely difficult when I go for a recording session that says that आपका हारमोनियम का आवाज बहुत आ रहा है. अगर मैं उसको बंद कर दिया, भाई मैं कैसे गाऊं? The reference point for me as a singer is the harmonium, and if that reference point is lost, how do I sing? So if you are able to now look at possibilities of creating a volume jack so that it can be put on a headphone and without the microphone having to capture it, that is one possibility. Second possibility is the volume that is produced. If it can be adjusted through a dial, so you want to make it a low volume, it can be a low volume. If you want to increase it, it can increase. Then also in the mechanical system that you're controlling, the triple reed output, the coupler output, all this, if it can be done through buttons, then the shift can become very easy. For example, from Pandri 1, I want to shift to Kali 1. Today I have to go there, push it down, take it aside, push it back. So sometimes it becomes a little difficult on a live situation when the program is on. So if I'm able to do this with a touch of a button, it would add a lot of operative ease. So like that, there are several. I can send you a list of 20 things that I have kind of thought in my mind, and only an expert like you can think of all this and find a solution. And when the harmonium is produced, the sound is produced, the output is from the top. Because the reeds are here, and as you play, the buttons lift and the out. Suppose I want that output to be on the sides for whatever reason. Suppose I want to put a microphone here and not here. Because when you take the harmonium on your lap, the vocal mic has to have a long boom. The rod has to be longer. Otherwise, it does not reach you. So I find a challenge. There is one thing jutting from here for my vocal. There is another thing jutting from here for my harmonium. And as a result, I'm completely hidden by the rods. So there are solutions to all these operational problems. I think a young mind like you, Ashish ji, can think of all this, and I will come and put your list, a wish list, and from that wish list you can keep on resolving कि भाई इसमें क्या हो सकता है, क्या नहीं हो सकता है. And it's a process of evolution, and I am sure every performer has such challenges because I interact with so many artists. Yesterday night we had Jaideep Maundi in my house, and we had a performance in our auditorium. We had Satish, the one he plays santur. So all these artists keep coming home, and from all their view, there is so much that they need more from the instrument maker. So today, if for example the santur has got slightly out of tune, you are a santur maker. Yeah. So today to tune it, it takes say 10 minutes of live time on the stage, which is a little irritational. It adds to the irritation of the audience. भाई ये अरे मजा आ रहा है, अच्छा सा चारू कैसे चल रहा था, suddenly बंद हो गया, वो नी में जाके रुक गया, अभी लगा रहे ये सुर लगा रहे 15 मिनट, तब तक वो चारू कैसे का जो फ्लेवर जो था वो तो गायब हो गया. Because
we have already
done
that. Sorry to interrupt. We have already done that. Like two things which I want to tell you is, if you want the voice of a harmonium to not come from top and from a side, we have one model of harmonium which has a side output also. It doesn't come from the top. And secondly, for the santur, we have made a santur which has a fine tuner. Okay, it has a very like the violin fine tuners. We have used very different fine tuners from Germany, and it is we make a complete panel on one side, and it's actually fine tuned. Like just a small key, you just rotate it, and it's fine tuned. We have given it to an artist in Calcutta. He is using it right now, and it's very good.
No, my suggestion then is one step further.
Yeah.
As a channel, I am willing to organize programs.
Yes.
So you must be able to come demonstrate. And a stalwart should be able to play it and demonstrate how the tuning is done. So if we combine the normal concert with an educational concert, all these things are eligible under the CSR, the corporate social responsibility. So I will discuss with the corporates, and if we can all join hands as the television platform, as the instrument maker and an artist, we combine all three together and demonstrate to the outside world. Why should the solution be available to just one? It should be available to all the artists.
Everybody.
So if you have invented, if you have discovered a new system, that should be made available to everybody. So that, you will also enjoy making such differences in instrument. So I only suggest that the marketplace should also realize that these changes are happening quickly. And there is somebody who's going to facilitate these kind of changes in the instrument. And for every instrument, I'm telling you, there is a problem. There is a challenge. Even morsing, which is nothing but a small tongue jutting from a metallic thing. When it is slightly out of tune, the wax that you need to put on that. Yeah. Very few people know how much wax is to be put to retune. It's a very small matter, but then it matters a lot on a stage.
Yeah.
Then you have 1,000 people sitting in front, and काली एक उधर बज रहा है और ये थोड़ा सा काली एक और पांडरी दो के बीच में चल रहा है. So it's not harmony. So ये एस्पेक्ट ऐसे जो छोटे एस्पेक्ट है, इसको हम स्टेज से लाइव ऑडियंस को करके दिखाना चाहिए, ताकि ऑडियंस को भी समझे भाई इसमें कितना मेहनत है, इसका क्या प्रोसेस है, और आर्टिस्ट को भी समझे भाई अगर ऐसा सिचुएशन आए तो इसको कैसे ठीक करें. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन अ कंजीरा, you need a small this thing of water to constantly bring down the pitch. So you have to constantly put that water into that, so that when you do that gumki, that it's very live. So people used to wonder, अरे इसको पानी काय को चाहिए, स्टेज में इतना सा पानी पीने को चाहिए क्या? तो उनको ये समझ नहीं है कि भाई वो पानी वो इंस्ट्रूमेंट के लिए लगता है. अगर समझ लीजिए पखावाज है और यहाँ आप ये भर दिया तो उसको मॉइस्चर होना चाहिए कांस्टेंट. तो ये जो छोटा चीज है, अभी मैंने कहीं बहुत अच्छा देखा, he has brought an aerosol sprinkler. So instead of a bowl of water in his bag, he had a sprinkler and he does this, and then it's the pakhwaj, this thing is ready. So these small things, small thoughts, but they add a lot of value. And on the stage, you can't get up and go and bring a glass of water, and you can't ask. The program is on, people are looking at you, the recording is on. So these kind of small solutions as a maker, if you are able to think and preempt these kind of situations, I'm sure there is a huge potential, and there is a huge market of people who want to get all this. So my request to you is, maybe another 2 or 3 months down the line, I'm going to organize a program and invite both of you with all your discoveries. And then we will offer you the stage, and you can then demonstrate कि भाई आपका बुलबुल तरंग में क्या किया, हारमोनियम में क्या किया, संतूर में क्या किया, पखवाज के लिए क्या किया, ऐसे हर एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट का. और उस आर्टिस्ट को सबको बुलाए, अगर तबला के बारे में आप बात कर रहे हैं, मैं सबको बुला लूंगा। एक 50-60 तबला प्लेयर्स तो बम्बे में हैं जो रेगुलर कंसर्ट लेवल पे बजाते हैं, उनको सबको बुला लेवे। वी कैन डू स्मॉल वर्कशॉप्स लाइक दिस एंड एनहांस द वैल्यू ऑफ द इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स दैट यू आर मेकिंग। एंड आई एज Insync TV, we have large resources available, we have a lot of money available. I mean, not that we have money to waste, but we have money to spend in terms of getting a good musical this thing. So I'm willing to take that bet and invite you, and we'll also invite the corporate heads. I've seen a lot of chairman level people who are very interested in music, and they want to really help you. They want to really help the artists to ensure that they also make a livelihood. But they always suspect that there is no credible platform to take funds from them and give it to the right deserving people. That credible platform is missing. So if you are able to address these thoughts through co-branding Haribhau Vishwanath with, say, Insync TV or what have you, I'm willing to do all that for you absolutely free, free of charge on my channel, because today Insync is seen by 30 million viewers. Imagine the numbers. 30 million is not a small number. Yeah. So you also watch. So this huge audience, which is viewership, which is available not only in India, outside India through the Android mobile phone, through our the subscription mode that we have. So that entire viewership is available. So today we are able to demonstrate all this to the people in the interiors, in the hinterlands. I think it will be a win-win situation for all of us. So with that, Ashish ji, I want you to tell me, what is your dream? What is it that you're looking forward?
Question.
He doesn't.
I normally don't dream. I sleep very fast.
He doesn't have time to dream.
Is that Dhanashri prompting something from your front?
Yeah, and she's saying he doesn't have time to
Can she come into the frame?
He's so busy making instruments, he has no time to dream.
No, my simple point is, instrument making is a mechanical job in terms of utilization of a brain.
I'll just say a quick thing. The dream, as you said, a dream. It's been quite some years that I've been thinking of that. That there should be an institution where we can teach new budding workers who want to be musical instrument makers. See, there is no concept in India as musical instrument maker. You find a carpenter, but there is no musical instrument maker. I mean, whoever is doing it for years and years, for generations probably, they are the ones who do it, but not like there are no newcomers in the industry. Okay, like for example, if one of our workers, if he leaves from us, then he starts his own, but he's not capable enough to be called as an instrument, because see, our instruments are like, it's a teamwork. It's not that only one person can do this. Okay, so it's a teamwork. So there are 3 or 4 different kind of skill sets that we require from 4 different or 5 different individuals who contribute to that production process, right? So I have always been thinking of this, that we should there has to be wherever in India possible, there has to be a school where we can teach making of instruments from basics. Our experience with materials. We play with so many materials, and everything from steel to aluminum to stainless steel to brass to copper, from in wood, from all probably possible grades of timbers that we have tried using in our instruments. That experience, even for example fabrics, so many different varieties of fabrics, that leathers, the various qualities of leather that we use for our instruments. Recently we had an inquiry about a vegan instrument. You understand? So the harmonium, we use a lot of sheep skin for bellows, for our linings. So we had a lot of inquiries since some years we already been working on that. But we are unable to find one substitute for that leather, that typical leather. See, for glue we can find, because now the glue that we use is all synthetic. Okay, but for the earlier days, they used to use the sarus. The sarus is basically the bone powder they make out of it, typically. it smells also a lot. So then we shifted to synthetic glues. But now, for what do we do about leather? We have been looking for so many. What all substitutes to leather are available are all breathable. We need non-breathable fabric. It shouldn't leak air. When we make a bellow out of that composite leather, I mean it leaks air. So that's a challenge that we are facing. So these are some things we want to work with. And so my dream, as you said, is that we need an institution somewhere that we can teach who are wanting to learn in a way. And I was thinking on these for some time before also that I should design a course, like a proper course for all this, that we can teach them about the different materials that can be used, or like because there are technical schools where they teach basic carpentry. There are somebody who teaches musical instruments in India. Yeah, there are schools who teach violin making, guitar making in the West, piano making for that matter. There are schools who teach all these things, but there is no school as such for making Indian instruments, teaching of that skill.
That's an extremely valid point, Ashish ji. I must thank you for that thought.
Yeah.
Because from the Indian Musicological Society also, we held a seminar some 3-4 years back at NCTA on instrument making.
Yeah.
And one of the final results or final thoughts was, yes, we should have an institution where not the higher things, but the elementary level instrument making concepts can be taught to the students, because today there is, the skill development is a very important thing in the small villages where they have no other livelihood. But I've seen, things like moshing is made in a small village. You go to south near Tanjavur, there is a village making tabal. There is another village making nadaswaram, and that, reed from which you make that small mistake. So like this throughout the country, there are several. Miraj makes, the near Pandharpur, you make that pot. So we need to identify all these small locations which are relevant to the instrument making map of India. So if Ashish ji, if you could help us with this map making, believe me, I will put in the money, I will put in the resources in terms of first creating that information base. Once the information base is created, then we can upgrade it to the various national level institutions like Sangeet Natak Academy or Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts. They are all willing to help. But first we have to give a proposal and a plan and tell them that this is what is in our mind, and not just in one location. If there is an institution, you should have a parallel curriculum and maybe a 3-4 year kind of a thing where the students are taught about the various materials that are used in instrument making. Then how do you, climatize them for your requirement? Then how do you, so all these things have to be taught at various stages. So if you can conceive a 3-year course of instrument making, leather, metals, wood, these can be separate categories. Definitely. So depending on where they hailed from, we can accordingly start those institutions. Maybe in Bombay, you can have for 3-4 instruments. Maybe in Tanjavur, you can have for some other instruments. So like this, if we can have an Indian map for instrument making, I think it would be a great service. Making money is one aspect, but enriching the society, enriching the people around you, creating a skill development for Karigar. These are people who nobody is going to train them. Nobody is going to take them to a university and train them. Only people like you can teach them. So if that support is available, I'm sure I can find, some corporate who would be willing to, invest into this and take it to the next level. So let us jointly prepare an Indian map. I'm going to put Rutvija and Dhanashri onto the on the aspect. Let them not laugh around us. Let them also start contributing. Let them also enrich this discussion. Because it is not something that I want to achieve or you want to achieve. No. It is for the musical world. So I think young minds, young energetic minds like Rutvija and Dhanashri are going to sit together, create this map, identify various locations to, if it is harmonium, it is Calcutta. If it is sitar, it is Calcutta and Delhi. If it is harmonium, it is Bombay, Calcutta. Like that, they can prepare a map as a starting point for every Indian instrument. In Insync, we have made 30 educative clips, each clip for about 5 minutes, on the various Indian instruments. I've done it for Nadaswaram, I've done it for Ghatam, I have done it for Mridangam, I've done it for harmonium. So like this, we have already created one portion. So any newcomer can be straight away told, okay, when you talk of X instrument, this is what it is. So let us take it to the next level in terms of identifying what is made web and jointly take it forward. So I hope I will have your complete support in that. And whenever we are conceiving of any live performances, we will keep you in mind and see how your instruments can be demonstrated there. So we have a lot of things to work on. So with that, Dilip ji and
nice idea.
Ashish ji, actually आपका जो सरनेम है दीवाने, हम भी दीवाने हैं. आप असली दीवाने हैं, हम संगीत के दीवाने हैं.
हम म्यूजिकल इंस्ट्रूमेंट बनाने वाले दीवाने हैं, दीवाने बनाने के दीवाने हैं.
So it's a great pleasure talking to both of you, and thank you very much. And this discussion does not end here; it has only started here. So we are going to take it further forward. And compliments to all the people who have joined us. I see more than almost about 1,000 people have joined us.
Thank everybody.
And so our discussion is seen by more than 1,000 people, and you know that is the strength that we have. So we will take it to the next level. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.